If you're a fan of the X-Files, you're probably familiar with Fox Mulder's obsession with the possibility of aliens, otherworldly creatures looking down on us with extreme curiosity and hoping to probe into our brains. But having your brain examined is nothing to be afraid of. Check out this little guy. He's having a great time, and he's actually fitted with an EEG net, a safe and non-invasive device used to monitor brain activity. In the Rangel Neuroeconomics Lab here at Caltech, we actually use devices like EEG and fMRI to understand how people make simple choices. The focus of my current research is understanding the fine time course of the decision-making process. So we know that people are capable of making choices very quickly, as fast as 200 milliseconds. Picture the last time you had to grab a quick bite to eat before heading out the door. You had 1 second to decide between the delicious but very sugary Pop-Tart and the dry but nutritious granola bar. So 1 second to take in the features of the foods, compare them, and make a choice. Let's try it right now. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. It's kind of hard, right? But we actually make these choices all the time. In neuroeconomics, we use the attentional drift diffusion model to understand how people make these very fast, simple choices. As Professor Rangel explained, the basic idea is that the decision maker integrates information about both options over time until the pathway reaches a threshold, at which point a choice is made. In my research, I want to understand and pinpoint the time at which different types of information, like food health and food taste, are integrated by the decision maker. For example, is taste information processed faster than health information, or does this actually vary across individuals? This is a tricky problem because the current tools we have aren't really enough. From previous fMRI studies, we do know that there's an area of the brain called the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, I'll call it the VMPFC, that is actually correlated with people's food preferences and how they perceive food value. This is a great start, but fMRI doesn't have the temporal resolution that we need since these choices are being made so quickly. And EEG doesn't have the spatial resolution since the VMPFC is so small. So our challenge has been to figure out a way of measuring the detailed time course of the decision-making process. I've been working with postdoc Cendri Hutcherson and grad student Nikki Sullivan on developing a way of measuring the detailed time course. We use mouse tracking. It's basically a recording of people's hand movements as they use the computer mouse to click on different foods on the computer screen. So far, what we've noticed is that there's a huge range of how people interact with the cursor. In the first photo on the left, you'll notice that this is what most people do. They have a random scattering of mouse trajectories. But in the middle, you see that some people are really biased towards one side of the screen or the other. And in the third photo, you see that some people really like a certain pattern every single time they use the mouse. Nikki even had one subject who would always move their mouse in a spiral every single time they made a choice. I'm not really sure why, but this is what people do, so these are the kinds of things we have to keep in mind when analyzing the data. We played around a lot with the different experimental setups to try to address these individual tendencies. This is very important because the most interesting results that we see are actually seen at the individual level. In these photos, you see trials in which people are asked explicitly to focus on the healthiness of the foods so we can understand self-control. We can correlate each subject's own health and taste ratings on their mouse position over time to identify when health and taste begin to take effect for each person. For subject 351, health, which is in blue, and taste, which is in orange, both have an initial impact, but eventually, health wins out. For subject 355, taste has a huge effect early on, but health doesn't really kick in until later on, and by then, they've probably already chosen the tastier snack. Using these results, we can start to figure out the differences in information processing between people who are better or worse at regulating what they eat. I see a lot of potential for mouse tracking as a research tool. There are applications to online shopping, networking, basically anything that can be done on a computer. As a Caltech undergrad, I'm very excited to be a part of something that may hugely impact our understanding of human behavior. Thank you very much.